Erin Cruz of the Erin Cruz Show. I hope you're doing well, considering I wanted to touch base with all of you this evening. It's been a very difficult afternoon in terms of what our country is facing today, watching the nations, watching the struggle across the UK and London specifically. I wanted to touch on a few things, which we will also get to this next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. with Political Core. My heart is just breaking. It is really breaking. London, we've seen several terror attacks happen, and many people have been affected and impacted. My heart really goes out to all of the families and friends, people over there. But I think there's something that really needs to be discussed, and that's Islam. Islam is a huge, huge, huge problem. And now I would have to say that there are many good Muslims, good people out there who practice the faith and are not the sorts of people who would go out and harm anyone. But I also have to say that there is with no hesitation, there is a component of Islam that is in direct conflict with every Christian, every Jew, every secular person, every non-believer of any sort, atheist, agnostic. No one is exempt from the reach and the touch of Islam. If you are not convertible, you are the enemy. Now, I will have to say this, is that, and it's very hard for me to kind of get to this, but I really need to, is that there's something that sets Islam apart from many other religions, most religions actually, and it's zakat. And basically, it is the fifth pillar of Islam. It is the funding component of war, essentially. If you read about it, you're going to read that basically it supports the furthering of Islam. And when I say supports the furthering of Islam, that includes jihad. Now, I want to go into this just a little bit because I think it's important to recognize that, when you have a situation where money is flowing through and people receive support, what do you do? How do you know? How do you attack the person who, how do you go after this sort of war and combat it effectively? Well, I mean, there are security experts all over that can tell you this, that, or the other, but it's not like the wars of old where you stood right in front of your enemy and you went to battle. This battle is a war that is of the kind that you cannot see. And people don't understand. Even Christians, Jews don't understand. This is something that we cannot see. It is a religious war. And I think there was an Orthodox church over in Russia who spoke about this, I think, 2 years ago, and I passed around the articles. Many, many people did. Very popular article, because at the heart of this piece, it was talking about the fact that Islam is in the middle of a religious war. You're coming against a people who see their vision. It's very clear, and there won't be anything that stops them. Not a thing. This is their duty. Insomuch as you would defend your family and defend your country, they feel the same about Islam and their duty. And I'm going to tell you right now, until the leaders of this nation, the leaders of the nations of the world, recognize Islam for what it is and what we are up against, we will lose that battle. But I'm also going to be here and I'm going to tell you that as a Christian, I know and believe that in the end game, God wins. I've read Revelations, but in the meantime, there's a great deal that happens, and we have to be vigilant. We have to be aware of what's going on. And right now, London has done just the thing to hurt themselves. They've brought in a leader, a Muslim, to run their community. They've brought in a person who supports the fifth pillar of Islam. If you want to ask him something, you can ask him if he will renounce and come against the fifth pillar of Islam, which is to further the goals of Islam, including jihad. So London has brought in and allowed this Muslim leader to rule. And Trump has come in and spoken against what has happened, against the atrocities in the UK. And the London mayor essentially did not like what Trump had to say. You can go read about it. I'm not going to get into that. But what's important here is that in the recent history, we've seen that the UK, that London has had a great deal of violence. Citizens attacked. It isn't just the one citizen who's hurt, who dies, who is impacted. It isn't just their family who is impacted or their friends. It is the minds of every man, woman, and child who sees the attacks brought on to these nations through these people. Those minds are shaped forever. This is a war, people. A war of the mind. It is a religious battle. It is not something to be taken lightly. And when I saw today government agencies saying terrorist incident, my soul was screaming in horror to the families who were affected and attacked. This was not an incident. This wasn't just something that happened. When we think about the violence that Islam has wrought in the Middle East and now over into the UK, I think it's important that we address it for what it is. They are waging a religious battle and war against the minds of every person on this planet who is not of the Islamic faith. It's that simple. Generations will be impacted with each attack. And now we have officials who need to go in. They need to be amongst and see and differentiate which type of individuals are extreme, or as people call them extreme, are orthodox, if you will, and which are just practicing Muslims. They need to differentiate the lines of the funding that's going towards jihad and educating the minds of the individuals who are raising up their arms and hurting others and killing others. They need to go within. This is not like the old-time battles face to face. And like Trump said in the Middle East, in his speech, he said, we are going to have to look at unique and individual and more focused ways to approach combat with Islam. And I think that's absolutely true. The only true way would be to infiltrate and build relationships and find out who is orchestrating these sorts of series of attacks. Until we do that, until we really address, until we look at Islam for what it is, until we address those sorts of issues that need to be addressed, we aren't going to make an impact. And as citizens of this great nation, I ask of you, brothers and sisters, here in the United States, my fellow citizens, my sisters and brothers in Christ, even of other religions, I ask you to please reach out to your loved ones over in the UK and call on them to rise up against their leaders, to speak to them, to call them, to write them. When I say rise up, I mean to take action, to contact, to get involved with organizations that can make change in their communities. Something has to be done. We're all busy, but something has to be done. So I call on you as an American citizen, as my brothers and sisters, please reach out to people you know over there, because I will tell you, it affects you here. Immigration is a real thing. And over there in the UK, and what I've seen and what I'm kind of understanding according to everything that I've read, is we have a great number of people that are immigrating into the United States now that are from the UK. And the UK is a large boundary space, I mean, in terms of immigration. These people come here, and they come here with a beautiful accent. Perhaps you might even not know that they could be a threat. Right? So over the next few years, with all of the refugees that have tracked into the UK and found their mother and their citizenship, quite possibly they could find their way here given just a few short years. So I call on you, please reach out to those people you know over there. Please. And also, guard yourselves. And when I say guard yourselves here, I mean that we have to make real and substantial change. It's 6 months in. Trump has been in office. He's made remarkable ground. And I am so proud to say that we have finally made a place where at least we're not only are we making time, we're really taking some good action in here, but we also have a lot to do. One of those things is Obamacare, tax reform is another. A lot of big issue, big ticket item things that we need done now. We can always change them over the next 4 years, but we need big action done now. And why do I bring that up? Because it's all tied together. The more food, the more money you have, the more food that's on your plate. The more money in your pocket, the more savings you could have. What does that do? That provides security. That provides safety for your family. If something happens, you'll be more stable in terms of your ability to cope with the financial impacts should something arise. It's all tied together, folks. It's all tied together. So I think that's pretty much all of the ground I wanted to cover. Please also continue to pray for our leaders. Reach out to them, let them know that you're praying for them. Also, if you need items that you want addressed, contact them on those. But really, just I'm with you here. Just keep going, keep doing the good work that you're doing. I know many of you, many of my friends that I've met over the years since 2008, 2009, many of you are doing good work in different areas, either writing for different organizations, editing for different organizations, on the ground doing grassroots activist movements, leading different groups and meetings and teachings and trainings. And so many of you I've watched grow. And so many more people I've just met, and I help in many ways as I can. One of the things I do is I try to connect people. That's my job, is to connect people. So if you need something, you make sure to let me know. And if I can't help you, I will help you find somebody who can help you, or maybe they can help you find somebody else who can help you. But I think that's what we need to do. We need to make sure we have a good network. And if you ever, that's why I always say, if you ever have any questions, never hesitate to reach out. We should all be here for one another, especially as we begin the restoration of our great republic. All right, everyone. I love you all, and I just want to tell you, God bless you. Keep up the good and hard work. And God bless America.